stop it.
Thought that we should have waited a couple of weeks on the member that we might have more to say, but he said we had to get that out of the way first. So it's good to see you all here again a second time. And I know that you've had a chance to pick up the materials at the front desk. And so what we'll be discussing and announcing here will come as no surprise to you. I would announce, however, that as of just about precisely 2 o'clock, the contract was signed by Knight Ritter, having been executed by Lockheed, just simultaneously with that execution. So the contract is now signed and it's a done deal. At the same time, a number of press releases went out from around the country. Knight Ritter did its own release. Lockheed did a release from down Calabasas. We did a release also. Paul, I know Paul's here. She's probably over-releasing. But you made the release. Also, we sent out cover letters and the press release to all of our database suppliers as well as our top customers, as many as we could fit in the time that we had. We also sent out announcements to our distributors and our representatives and our field officers. Alice is videotaping the proceedings here, and we'll make duplicates of that videotape and send that out also to the field offices so that they can participate in this milestone event, which we're enjoying this afternoon. What I'd like to do is just take a few minutes and read to you the letter, the cover letter that we sent out with the press release, and then I'd like to turn the meeting over to the Knight Ritter people so that you'll have a chance to meet them. They've been anxious to come out for some time, and we've actually been in contract discussions now for just about a week, and it's been an enormously quick signing of a contract. And that came about because the draft contract that they received, they reviewed and found quite acceptable to them. This was a draft contract that Lockheed, with the assistance of Bob Simons and Bill Lawrence and myself, drafted and submitted to them. It came back with very few changes, and so it was easy to negotiate and put into place, and that's a very good positive sign for all of us. But let me move then into the cover letter and simply read that to you. It said, some months ago, Lockheed Corporation decided to explore the divestiture of Dialog and engaged the investment banking firm of Goldman Sachs & Company to assist in this process. The attached press release announces that Knight Ritter Incorporated has agreed to purchase Dialog. Knight Ritter management has indicated that Dialog will continue to be operated by its present management as an autonomous activity, and that current operating policies will be continued without disruption. Furthermore, the commitment to high-quality service and broad database coverage you have come to expect from Dialog is fully supported by Knight Ritter. I'm adding, let me speak for the Dialog management and the employees in expressing our enthusiasm and support for the outcome of this process. You all haven't had the exposure to the Knight Ritter folks that I have, but I'm sure as you get that exposure, you'll come to have the same assurance and confidence that I've developed in terms of an organization that operates at the highest standards of integrity and fairness. I conclude the letter with a thank you for bearing with us through this period of transition. I personally value the trust that you have placed in Dialog through your continuing affiliation, and look forward to the upcoming years of growth and opportunity we can anticipate together. Sincerely yours, Roger Casella. So anyway, that says it in a nutshell. You've got copies of the press release which go into more detail. So now the ceremony has largely been completed, and the work will very shortly begin following the closing of the purchase, which should come along within a month to a month and a half. We're looking for an August 31st closing officially. You know, and as I described to you previously, that's that period that we have to file with the government agencies and go through certain other clearance procedures before the transaction becomes final. But I want to say that I feel very pleased with the result as it's turned out, and I want to welcome Jim Batten, who's the president and CEO of Knight Ritter. to Palo Alto and to Dialog. Roger, thank you very much for those kind words. And on behalf of my traveling companions from Knight Ridder, let me tell you how absolutely delighted we are all to be in the room with all of you this afternoon. Let me begin by introducing the Knight Ridder people who are with me. You're going to be hearing from some of them at least a little later on. First, Tony Ritter. Tony, stand up. Tony is the president of Knight Ridder's newspaper division. Some of you may recognize his name because not too long ago he spent the last 22 years of his life as the publisher of the San Jose Mercury News. In an age of too much mobility, Tony and his family managed for 22 years not to go anywhere, which was a very happy time for them and really in your community. Marv Berenblum. Marv is our Senior Vice President for Personnel. David Ray is the President of our Business Information Services Division, the division into which Dialog will fall. Frank Hawkins is Vice President of Knight Ridder for Corporate Relations and Planning. Somewhere, I believe, in this room is Paul Tucker. Paul, there you are. Paul Tucker, who was a part of the acquisition team along with David Ray, is the Senior Vice President of Technology of the Business Information Services Division based in the suburbs of Kansas City. And standing next to him is my assistant, Patsy Palmer. I hope I haven't overlooked anybody. I think that's all the Knight Ridder people who are here. This is, as you would expect, an immensely important and exciting day in the life of our company. I hope it will prove to be that way. I deeply believe it will prove to be that way for all of you and for Dialog as well. This is, you'll be interested to know, this is the biggest acquisition in the history of our company. We have done some major acquisitions over the years, but we have never done one quite the scale of this one. And that reflects the fact that all of you obviously have done a superb job over the years in building this remarkable company. As you would expect in a deal of anything like approaching this magnitude, we have been extremely minutely diligent in the homework that we have done on Dialog, on your history, on your products, on your competition, on the people who make this company go. And I want you to know that this really began, got into high gear maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. As Roger said, this has been a rapid process for us. But with every passing day, almost literally, the more we learned about Dialog, the kind of quality and excellence that your company represents, the more our enthusiasm grew at the prospect that conceivably you all and your company could become a part of Knight Ridder. Let me say to you that I have the feeling that there are genuinely strong parallels between Knight Ridder, which you're in the process of learning more about, and Dialog, which you know a great deal about. Among the parallels that seem self-evident to me are that both are information companies. Both of our companies have made their mark in the world by being ready with the kind of information, well-presented information, that our customers needed. So there are, in terms of the general ballpark in which these companies have played out their lives, there's a lot of similarity there. And as I have learned more, as I have read your materials, one of the things that comes across is a very intangible thing, a very important thing, and that is a parallel sense of idealism between our two companies. Dialog, obviously, and Knight Ridder, to me, obviously. These are not just another couple of American companies. These are companies that are special in the role that we play in the world today, in the way our country functions and governs itself and moves forward in ways scientific and economic and educationally and otherwise. So I think there are some parallels that you could not ever put in a balance sheet or operating statement. Another thing that is true of Knight Ridder, and I've learned to understand is true of Dialog, is
mutual emphasis on the quality of our people. In the newspaper business, and Knight Ridder is 90% of the newspaper company, or has been, we are known as the company that places the greatest emphasis on hiring the right people, precisely the right people. And once we have hired them, making sure that we train them well, that we put great emphasis on the development of their careers. That's one of the ways that Knight Ridder has made its mark in the newspaper business in this country over the last several generations. And as I read and learn about Dialog, I hear a lot of echoes of that same kind of people emphasis in the way your company has been run. It's also true, I think, clearly that we are both leaders in our respective industries, which have some overlap. But we have been, you in your way and Knight Ridder in its way, have been standard setters for the industries in which we participate. So once over likely, I wanted to give you those opening thoughts. I've got a few other things I want to mention to you, but let me explain how I would suggest we proceed this afternoon. I want to talk a little bit more about Knight Ridder, just maybe 5 minutes to give you a little clearer sense of the company that you will be joining in a few weeks. And then I'm going to call on David Ray to talk from the vantage point of Knight Ridder's Business Information Services division. David has been really our leader in making this acquisition. Then Tony Ritter is going to talk a little bit about the newspaper division, about his connections to this world that all of you live and work in. And then Mark Bernblum is going to talk about just some headlines, highlights on the people side of this whole transaction. First, let me tell you a few things about Knight Ridder. We in 1987, our revenues crept across the $2 billion mark. We have 24,000 employees scattered around the world. Compared to Lockheed, I suppose we qualify as a neighborhood grocery store, but in the newspaper business, we are fairly big. We are the second biggest newspaper company in the United States in terms of daily and Sunday newspaper circulation. We own 30 newspapers that range in size from the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Detroit Free Press, Miami Herald, San Jose Mercury News, down through middle-sized, big to middle-sized American cities like Charlotte, North Carolina, St. Paul, Minnesota, Wichita, Kansas, and then a number of smaller papers in towns like Boulder, Colorado, Pasadena, Long Beach here in California, and a number of other towns around the country. One of the things that you need to understand about Knight Ridder is that tied up in our history and in our value system is a very strong emphasis on editorial quality. That has been one of the hallmarks of our company over the years and will continue to be in the years ahead. One little measure of that is this. Pulitzer Prizes are not what we're in business to win, and they don't necessarily prove anything, but I think they are at least symptomatic of the kind of quality that winds up producing that sort of recognition. In the last 4 years, Knight Ridder newspapers under Tony Ritter's leadership have won 22 Pulitzer Prizes, which is a record without any close parallel in the American newspaper business. So that is symptomatic of the emphasis that we put on editorial quality. We own 8 television stations, basically in mid-sized markets scattered around the country: Albany, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, Mobile, Alabama, Oklahoma City, Tucson, Flint, Michigan, towns in that size range. We got in the television business in the late 1970s and have been building since then. Business information, David Ray is going to tell you more about it, but we have been increasingly an entrepreneurial company in business information services. And it is in that area that we see especially exciting fits between what Dialog knows how to do and what we think Knight Ridder knows how to do. A couple of other emphases are very important to Knight Ridder. We have been, since the mid-70s, we have put great emphasis on orderly, consistent earnings progress. It's been important to us to be and be seen to be a growth company, and that's what we have been. If this year concludes as we are absolutely confident it's going to, 1988 will be the 13th consecutive year of earnings per share growth in Knight Ridder. and that's a record that we're very, very proud of. Another strong emphasis in Knight Ridder that you will have to learn about and live with to really grasp is that in spite of our size, there is a strong sense of family, a strong emphasis on the human dimension in this company. And there we have worked hard, and we're going to keep on working hard to resist the negatives that often come with bigness. We are an anti-bureaucratic company, and that's will be important as we continue to grow. So in short, what I try to describe for you is a company that I really believe that all of you will enjoy being a part of, and that you will be proud to work with and work for in the years ahead. Knight Ridder feels immense pride and great responsibility. I feel the responsibility, David does, Tony does, Marv, all of us feel great responsibility to all of you and to the business that you have built. To be entrusted to help carry on the legacy that you all have been a part of is something that we take with great seriousness, and we will be working hard to live up to your expectations of us. This is a business that you all know because you helped create it, and I want to emphasize, I gather there's been some flickering concern about this. We have every intention of maintaining dialogue just like it is, right where it is. There's no remote thought of ever moving this company anywhere. This is where you've been, you arrived here, and this is where you ought to stay, as near as we can tell, as far as the eye can see. So we will be looking to all of you to help us help continue to build this wonderfully successful company. And it's exciting for us. We look forward to getting to know you all better as the months and years go by. Let me conclude my remarks at this point and call on David Ray. David.
Well, I should begin by saying that I must underscore Jim Batten's comments and say that we're absolutely thrilled with the prospect of having Dialog join Knight Ridder, the corporation, and our Business Information Services division. I was saying to some people earlier today that there's no reason why anybody would know this, but I was born in San Mateo, California, 4 years ago than I care to admit, and had the misfortune to have my parents spirit me away to the Midwest at a very early age, and I think I was probably 12 or 13 or 14 or thereabouts when I made the promise to myself that I would someday return to my home state, but I had absolutely no idea that the price of my return ticket was going to be so steep. As Jim said, Dialog is going to be an absolutely integral part, a very significant part of our organization, and we are truly confident that our partnership, and that is exactly what it will be, our partnership will be a good one. We have no plans, we have no predisposition to make changes at Dialog in any negative way. And as a matter of fact, it's our objective to be builders with you, to encourage Dialog to grow, to encourage Dialog to expand, and to encourage Dialog to pursue its vision and to be innovative. I thought that I'd like to take advantage of the opportunity that I have with you this afternoon to tell you a little bit about our business information division. Our division, in fact, is quite comparable to Dialog in terms of our revenues, in terms of the number of customers that we touch every day and every year. This year, our division revenues will be in the neighborhood of $125 million. This year, our revenues are growing at an annual rate of about 25%. We reach somewhere between 95,000 and 100,000 customers in total through our various business information services. We thought you might be interested to know that in the United States, for example, we use a network of more than 4,000 satellite earth stations to reach a number of our customers who are generally speaking subscribers to financial information. We think that we are a company that is both marketing oriented and technologically oriented. what do we do? Well, our division is engaged in serving the information needs of the business community around the world. We are collectors, we are producers, we are publishers of information that is today oriented toward the financial, the world trade, and the transportation markets. We're a global organization. We operate today in virtually every significant market city in the world. The information that we provide is published for the most part electronically, and for the most part it is published in real time. You may not know it, but we are recognized along with Reuters and along with Dow Jones as being an important, a major source, in fact, of international financial news and information. Some of you may know of our Vutex subsidiary, Vutex. Through Vutex, we offer online access to more than 60 newspapers and other full-text databases. Vutex was a company created in 1982 to provide electronic library and storage facilities for the biggest Knight Ridder newspapers. It has developed beyond that point, and today has become arguably the premier newspaper storage and retrieval system in the United States. As Jim said, and again I must echo what he said, we think Dialog is an absolutely great company, or we wouldn't be here today talking with all of you. We think that Dialog and we have complementary management and complementary operational strengths, and we think too that we each have an important perspective on the information industry. So we feel good about the fit, and we hope that you do, and you will become increasingly confident about the goodness of that fit as time goes on. I'd like to conclude my brief remarks by acknowledging that I am sure, I'm just dead sure, that as far as you and your colleagues who are not in this room are concerned, if you must be apprehensive about what the change from Lockheed to Knight Ridder management will bring. And Marvin is going to talk a little bit about this in a few moments, but I'd like you to know that it's our objective to make this transition a seamless one. It is our objective to create an environment as your new parent that will be a good one, and as important as anything else, create an environment that is going to be a fun one for all of you to operate in, for us to be a part of. So those are my formal remarks. I'd like to turn the podium over now to Tony Ritter, who is the president of Knight Ridder's newspaper division.
A few years ago, when I found out that Bob Furman was going to move to Los Angeles to become the president of Lockheed, I called Bob to offer my condolences that he was going to have to move from here to Los Angeles. And so when he read that I was leaving to do the same sort of thing, only in Miami, he called me to offer his condolences to me. I have just spent the weekend here where my daughter had an engagement party. She's going to get married in a couple of months. And I have to say, after being around here, I feel homesick. This is such a wonderful place. And I'd like to underscore what Jim said about our commitment to keeping Dialog here. I think that of the Knight Ridder people, there's not anybody that can understand better than I can why it would make sense to keep it here. And so even though it's a different part of the company, I would like to visit you from time to time. But I'd like to just say a couple other things. I was publisher in San Jose for 9 years, and as publisher, I became involved in a number of things, and one of them was the Technology Center. And I just recently turned the chairmanship of the Technology Center over to Ed Chow, who's now heading it up. And I found out on the way down here, driving down, that Roger Summit's son works for the Technology Center on a part-time basis through Raycamp. But it's something that I've stayed involved in, and say something about the way I feel about this place. And so you're all very lucky to be living here. And I'd like to say this about Dialog, that it's when David came in and presented this proposal and talked about your company and the way the company is operated, it really sounds like the way we try to operate our newspapers. And there are a lot of newspaper companies that operate what I feel is for the short run, that have much higher profit margins, and that have a different attitude about the quality that should go into a newspaper. And we really believe that the best long-term strategy is to produce the best possible newspapers we can, and it will make less money for us in the short run, but it's the best long-term strategy. And it sounds like exactly the way Dialog has been run. It's a company that has its first commitment to quality, and it doesn't try to squeeze the maximum profit out of the business, but it builds the business for the long term. So it sounds like exactly the way we try to run our company, and that's why I think it's going to be really a perfect fit in Knight Ridder. So I am so thrilled that you're all going to surely be part of the Knight Ridder team, and I look forward to seeing you in the future, so I can sneak away from Miami. And now here is Mark Armbloom, Senior Vice President for Personnel.
Unlike David Ray, I'm not from San Mateo. Unlike Tony, I didn't work here for more than 20 years, but somehow being here, I'm feeling homesick anyway. May I add my voice in welcoming you to Knight Ridder. This is a company which has always placed a great value on the human dimension, as Jim mentioned, and in fact, we're the only company in our industry which has been recognized in the book, which identifies the 100 companies in America that people most enjoy working for, and we're very proud of that and want to continue that, and hope you'll agree with us that that's the case. Knight Ridder has always taken great pride in its benefit programs, which I know you're all concerned about and interested in, I've heard, which we believe provide a vital protection and financial security to our employees. It's never been Knight Ridder's philosophy to reduce employee benefits upon acquiring another company, and consistent with that, our intention is to ensure that Dialog employees enjoy benefit coverages with KRI, which in the aggregate match the excellent program Dialog management has developed and maintained for you over the years. I know all of you are interested in the status of your profit sharing plan. I gather this is a subject of conversation, and we want to assure you that as we review the makeup of the overall program of benefits that you have, that we intend to continue that profit sharing plan for at least a year, and to try to get a feeling for it as to what application it may have elsewhere in Knight Ridder. You know, we have something to gain from your experience and the experience you have with your benefit plans, those that you enjoy, and perhaps they have an application elsewhere in your company as well. In the case of your pension benefits, and I know for many of you young and older, this is again a very key issue, and I want to assure you that your past service for vesting purposes and your accrued benefits to date will be preserved under the Knight Ridder retirement plan. So there's, believe me, no concern there at all. Another issue which has been brought to our attention as being of interest to all of you is the past practice, which I understand is something that's rather common here in California, and that's using floating holidays during the week between Christmas and New Year's. And by all means, that's something that we want you to continue to feel free to exercise. There are other areas of our company's activities I'd like to review with you, and as I also visit with your organization, I'm looking forward to that very much. I'd really like to meet with each of you as time goes along and get a sense of your career aspirations, and hopefully work with your management in aiding and abetting your development. But there are a number of programs at Knight Ridder that serve to accomplish that purpose, we hope. One, for example, is the Knight Ridder Institute of Training, which offers a host of management and skills development programs. And this institute is the only one of its kind in our industry, so it's another thing we really take a great deal of pride in. And I'm sure that many of you will have an opportunity to avail yourselves of that program and the many facets of it. We found that the Institute of Training has really been a marvelous assist in realizing one's professional career aspirations as well as honing one's management and professional skills. So in any event, I'm really looking forward to working with you in the months and years ahead, and I know this is going to be a mutually productive and warm relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentations. I'm sure that was very enlightening to all of us. The Knight Ridder folks have agreed to entertain questions that you have or discussion topics that you'd like to raise. And so let's move right into that. Yes?
About health plans in particular, some of us weren't able to get into some of the HMOs because of where we live, like San Mateo, for instance, or Half Moon Bay, where we have the Lockheed medical plan. Obviously, that's not going to go over. What happens at that point? Do we switch over to another one?
Marvin, is there anything you can say on that? Or?
I can begin by telling you that we are in the fairly early stages of analyzing all of the benefit programs and seeing to what degree they would mean sync with Knight Ridder and where there are important differences. We will be working on that project between now and the time we close, which, as Roger said, is likely to be at the end of August. So we've got 4 or 5 weeks of serious homework to do as we get into the details of that. Most of that work is yet to be done. I think for now, what you need to hear from us is the good faith, serious assurance that in the aggregate, your employee benefits at Dialog will not be diminished in toto. There may be fine-tuning it here or there, up or down slightly, but in total, the intention is that, as a couple of us have said, there would be no overall diminishing the level of benefits. In terms of the kind of specific questions that you raised, that's really the kind of thing that we don't know the answer to. And by the time we get to Labor Day or early September, we will be much crisper in our answers to those kinds of things.
A more general question then is, for some of us that have worked with Lockheed a long time, Lockheed's employees have off of vacation. Is KRI better than Lockheed?
I have the good fortune of not knowing anything about Lockheed's vacation policies. We feel very good about our policies, and I think you will too. Mark, you want to add to that?
I think vacations will be one of the areas where you're going to feel better.
There you go, committing us, Mark.
This might be more appropriately directed to you, Roger, but it's a benefit question again involving the contributions that many of us have made over the years to the salary savings plan at Lockheed. Does Knight Ridder have a comparable 401k type plan? And that's basically the question. Does Knight Ridder have a comparable plan?
We have 401k plans, and we would expect we will continue to have one here. We have to figure how the transition works, but we have them, we believe in them, we've had great experience with them.
Thank you.
Rest easy.
I don't care about benefits. I have a question about product line. We have a few products at Dialog that aren't real profitable, and we continue to develop these products, and we also continue to expand this product line on products that aren't so profitable. And I wonder if we have any plans for these types of products.
I bring you now David KRI.
I would think that Dr. Summit and I are going to work very hard on matters of business addressing those kinds of questions until sometime after the close.
Is that what we should do? There are products that are more or less profitable. There are products that return their direct costs and also contribute to overhead, but may not bear all of the allocations, but that are desirable to continue for other strategic purposes, and that's the kind of evaluation that David mentions that we'll want to do. Yes.
I have a benefits question. On the other side, on Knight Ritter's side, what kind of benefits as far as like, I take the San Jose Mercury News.
You have to do that.
One free.
We are delighted to have you as a member of
I think they'll probably offer us the same discounts that we offered Lockheed in Other questions? Well, I think if there are no other questions, then we'll break. It's hot in here, and thank you very much for your attention. And,
They were working on a discount program, but I don't know if they have it as of yet, a discount program. They were planning. Yeah, you know, actually, no. He gives some free discount, right? Never mind.